Welcome to the day closure, a moment of reflection to avoid making the same mistakes tomorrow as we did today. My name is Jeroen Verberg. I'm here in the studio with Salwa El-Masri, our expert in leadership. And Salwa, today's subject is sharing successes and failures. Can you enlighten us?
Yes. Hi everyone and hi Jeroen. Welcome to episode 4 of Effective Communication. Last episodes we talked about the 5 main principles of effective communication. Those were 1, be honest, and 2, be clear, and that make sure everybody understands what you mean, not just what you say. Mm-hmm. 3, you have to be consistent in your words, your actions, and also your decisions. And the 4th one was practice empathy. And lastly, we had show respect.
Okay, these are you call that the fundamentals, huh?
Yeah, those are the 5 main fundamentals of effective communication.
All right.
You can build on from there. Showing respect was last episode's topic. And we mentioned that showing respect was mainly by refraining from criticizing your people in a negative way or in a way that stings. We also talked about the negative impact that criticism leaves in your people. Mm-hmm. And that ranges from resentment to resistance towards a leader. By this, we finished the first base layer, indeed, Jeroen, like you said. And today we're going to continue building on that layer.
Okay.
We do that by learning more skills that will further refine our communication in leadership.
So today we're going to talk about skills. So first we had the fundamentals and now we're going to build on that with skills.
Yes, exactly. Today we focus on the opposite of criticism, and that was appreciation and sharing, and how that is linked to creating more recipients and lowering resistance from your people.
So you say by appreciation you're going to lower the resistance, that's what you're telling.
Yes, that helps you create trust as a leader, mm-hmm. and also make people open up for you and be more recipients of you. So by default you lower your resistance or their resistance towards you as a leader. Mm-hmm. So we mentioned last time that if we want anybody to be recipients of what you say, you have to build trust with them. And trust cannot exist with certain factors, like, for example, disrespect or negative criticism. However, trust highly flourishes with other factors, and those are contradicting. For example, you have honesty, you have transparency, so working with a clear agenda or not having a hidden agenda, that's transparency. Also delivering the promise. And lastly, we have appreciation and sharing.
All right, so we first need to define what exactly is appreciation.
Yes, and good question.
And how you can experience that in the practical reality.
Yes, that's a very good question. By appreciation, we mean recognizing the good qualities in people or in things in general, and also acknowledging them in a form of specific praise, for example. Mm-hmm. So you can think of it as a way of making others feel valued. But the trick here is that it also has to be sincere and honest. Let me tell you something interesting. It was scientifically proven that when people get rewarded for good behavior, they are capable of learning much faster and also are more efficient than when they are punished for bad behavior. So to the leaders out there, please find something good to praise about your employees instead of criticizing them, and also do it with honesty.
So that's the practical side of it. So if you give somebody a compliment, like for instance, Salwa, you did a very well written document there, then it should be honest, it should be true, it should be not just a word, not just to be nice, it should have value.
Yes, it has to be true, like you said. That sums it up. And we highlight the sincere part or the honest part because that what differentiates appreciation from flattery or from just superficial compliments. Appreciation, like you said, it comes from your heart. So you see something that's really worthy in a specific moment or in a specific way.
And that's, of course, a very challenging attitude for leaders then. So if you, let's say we have a production leader leading the production of a company, and you can find everywhere problems, things that go wrong, for instance. I mean, I can say to you, what a wonderful writing did you do there, but I can also see the type mismatch. So it's both in the product, in this case in the service, in a document. So then my choice is to say, hey, Salwa, you made a mistake there, that's wrong, which is in fact true. But I can also say, hey, what a wonderful piece of writing, and I learned something from it. It's also true. So they can coexist with each other, the positive and the negative. But if as a leader we only emphasize on the negative and we never mention the positive, we have an issue.
Yeah, definitely. You kill the motivation of your people. That's the first thing you will see. And then you get lower productivity and a series of other behaviors that go one by the other. You can praise the good thing the person did while also mentioning the thing we need to improve.
Yeah, and that is an interesting aspect of leadership, because you may say, all right, the text that you wrote for us is good, and it has a type mismatch. So I can emphasize on the type mismatch, and I can say, yeah, writing good is just your work. I mean, that's the standard. That's not a compliment word. That's just what the standard should be. So in that perspective, you can overlook the positive side and only emphasize on the negative.
Yeah.
Which has consequences then for the culture, the atmosphere, the trust, and so on.
Well, both actions have consequences, right?
Yes.
And that's our job as leaders. We don't just say something or do something. We as leaders, we need to have that insight to see how our communication or our what we bring to the table impacts the other party as well. And we have to know that.
Yeah, so even if it would be true that writing a good piece of work is the standard, if you only hear what's not good and you only hear the negative, that doesn't help with your motivation and the relationship and the further learning of yourself and the products. No, indeed not. It brings you a negative impact. Yeah. And there's something to emphasize on in this podcast, that the audience understands that. Yes, and it's very tricky, because if you look at both aspects or both behaviors, and you would compare them to each other. So how many times do you see criticism on the shop floor by leaders, and how many times do you see appreciation, but sincere appreciation? Yeah. As we look at the daily business of a manager, production manager, sales manager, HR manager, doesn't matter, then they are in fact, the majority of the time of their work is about the faults that are made. So 80% of the work goes well, 20% of the work there's something wrong, but the 20% is what covers your day. For the rest, for almost 100%. So you're fully working on the negatives, on the faults, on the mistakes, on the miscommunications. So in organizations, you kind of like you tend to focus on everything that's fault, and that may result in a very negative atmosphere with the team and with your colleagues, because you're pinpointing all the faults and you overlook that what's done right. Yes, and that's the tricky thing about it. And that's, by the way, the human mind likes
to focus on the negative more on the positive. That's how we're wired by default. So if we're not
that's
very...
what makes it challenging.
Yes. And that's why you see it way more often, criticism, than sincere appreciation. So if we're not very aware of it, we will go on autopilot, and then, you know what happens.
Yeah. So that's kind of the human side of it, how people interact, how people work together. Interesting to realize is that Dr. Deming, already in the previous century, famous for his management theories, already explained that faults, so the negative, if you want to put it that way, are always the responsibility of the manager.
Yes.
Because the manager is responsible for the system, and the people are part of the system. So the people work, they are the professionals, they do what they should do and can do. But the faults that are made are never projected on the people, but on the manager.
Yes.
So by taking away the responsibility for a fault away from the people and bring it to the manager, you can create a safe environment.
That's a very good point, Jeroen. And that's actually a part of today's topic.
Okay.
We will talk about that part extensively in some minutes. But to finish this part for our audience, we were making the differentiation between appreciation or sincere appreciation and flattery.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to give the audience an example so that they know or they can relate to it more.
Yes, please.
You can think of flattery as something like when somebody do something good, so you say, "Oh, good job." That's flattery. But if we're talking about sincere appreciation, it sounds like, by the way, hey, how calm you handled that angry customer was really good or was really impressive. Do you see the difference?
That's the difference, yes.
So sincere appreciation is more specific, but also more personal. It's not generic.
Yeah, so however we may think that handling a angry customer is just doing your job, I mean, you need the positive fuel, the recognition that the confirmation maybe that you did it well.
Yes, or at least you do not need to hear something negative about it or that undermines it by saying, for example, "Oh, that's the least you could do," or "That's what is expected of you to do."
Precisely.
And actually, a lot of leadership literature emphasized this, Jeroen. It's widely explained how humans crave appreciation, not flattery, or not criticism for the matter. And the reason for this is that it is true. Sincere appreciation is true. It happened, and the people can relate to it. They can resonate with it. And on the other hand, flattery sounds more like fake or more like something you tell everybody. And when we practice genuine appreciation, what you get in return is stronger bonds with your people. That's the trust we mentioned earlier. Huh? Mm-hmm. You also get motivated employees. They definitely open up to you. They also want to do better. And they look at you like a role model, which should be the case for any successful leader with his employees or with his people. So if we sum it up, you get the best out of people. And this happens because people in general, they'll always remember how they felt after your interaction or because of you, not what you actually said to them. How often do you see this practiced on the shop floor? How often do you see leaders criticizing versus leaders giving sincere appreciation?
Yeah, that's a very good question. You see that a lot. By the way, you see both a lot. You see both leaders that are very critical and always emphasizing on the negative or the faults. As well, you see a lot of leaders that bring everything positive and are always appreciating others. I think the challenge is to merge them together and not, let's say, be in favor of one of the other continuously, because that doesn't work. Maybe it's good to have some background here if people are familiar with, for instance, MBTI indicator that defines the way of communication of people. What is your preferred style of communication in some sense? If you want to know more, you can do a course with us. It's a little commercial break. But in that MBTI profile, Dr. Jung found out that there are people with a thinking profile and a feeling profile. And people with a feeling profile in general, tend to be more positive and more on the appreciation side and bring everything in a positive way, while people with a thinking profile tend to do the opposite, tend to be critical and to pinpoint the faults instead of the positive, instead of giving compliments. So it's by nature in ourselves that we have the one appreciation or the other. But obviously you need both. It's not a matter of I'm right and this is my preferred way of doing, so that's the best way. That doesn't work that way. So it can be your preference to be either very positive or negative or critical. But what really matters is the receiving end, the one who receives the criticism or who receives the compliments. How is that handled with? What does it do to another person to be criticized or to get compliments? Both are good. It depends on the situation. But what I notice in the practical reality of an organization is that leaders work on automatism. They don't think about it. They just apply their preference way of doing. And that's where it gets a problem.
Yes. So if we break what you just said to the very basic, effective communication is about reaching mutual understanding, Jeroen, right?
Yeah.
And if you choose your way, a way that you go by, and it gives you something, it gives you resistance, or it gives you resentment, or it gives you more problems, then your applied way was not the right way. It was not effective.
Yeah, that could be the case. So if you unconsciously apply your preference way of doing, not being conscious about the situation, being conscious about the other one you're communicating with, then it can become a problem. On the other hand, if something is wrong in a product or in a service, it should be able to mention it and to identify it so that we can all as a team work on it to improve it.
Yes, of course. Of course, we're not overlooking the mistakes. That's not what we're saying here. We're just saying in general about the culture or the attitude in an organization or from the leadership to the people. If it's in generally negative or more focused on criticism, then it is not a very healthy culture to go by.
Yep, sure.
Criticism is constructive criticism, to be very precise, is needed as well. But it's all about your communication and how you bring that across.
Exactly. And when you know that when we walk in organization, it takes maybe 5 minutes and then we can identify the culture. Then already we know what preferred style of communication is there and whether it or not it's effective or not. So the funny thing is that it seems like we are giving now all kind of theoretical background, and we do, by the way. But when you walk into a store, let's say you walk into a hardware store, the Gamma or the Carway or the Hema or something like that, you immediately sense what kind of culture there is.
Yeah, indeed. You just see the behaviors and then you know it.
And then you know it.
Yeah. Okay, thank you, Jeroen. Now we will go to the second part of our topic for today, which is sharing. And sharing on the other side refers to the leader sharing two things in general with his people. He shares the blame for failures, but he also shares the credit for success. And to make it more practical for our audience, enough theory, let's talk about lessons learned from one of the greatest leaders in dealing with people throughout history. And that was Abraham Lincoln. What he did with his cabinet team, members in general, was that whenever a mistake happened from one of his team, what he would do, he would stand up for them, saying that he and his team will take full responsibility for the mistake that happened. Similarly, when there was a success or a win attributed to him, he would insinuate that that success was to a big extent thanks to his team. And what he did by that, he showed strong leadership qualities for being the first to take responsibility, and also by sharing it with his team for the good and the bad.
Mm-hmm. So what is a little bit a rule of thumb is that if something positive happens, you share it in the group and you make it public, and you can even mention someone or a team who did the work, or we did it all together, so that's positive. If something is negative, if something went wrong, well, of course you can identify it in the group as a team, like we made a mistake, for instance. If you want to coach someone individually, you do that separate, so you never blame someone open in the public, this went wrong and it's your fault, Solwa. That's obviously a no-go. No, definitely not. And especially not in front of the whole team. Especially, no. That's why you do criticism or feedback. I like the word feedback better. So if you have feedback for someone to learn, to become better, you do that one-on-one, normally. Yeah. Maybe it's nice to mention as well that the work we do with Dr. Bill Bellows, where we give training on how you develop an organization, and in that training we always work with we and me organizations. So to enlighten a little bit of that, so in a me organization, everybody falls back on his own. So everybody is as an individual working in a company, but focused on him or herself. And in these kind of organizations, you have a blame culture. Because I do my work, I don't want to make a mistake, because then I get blamed. So what I do is I try to blame you instead of, so that I avoid that I get blamed. Yeah. But rather in a we organization where we work together on a subject, then you and I can work together. And yeah, maybe we made a mistake, that's fine. We can look each other in the eyes and say, all right, we did it wrong, so let's move on and improve. Yeah. Rather than see who we can blame and who's the first one to get killed.
Yeah, well, did you see what you just said? You said, we did a mistake, and let's see how to move forward. That's exactly what Lincoln did. Yeah. He took the responsibility, even if it was not directly done by him, but he, as a leader, would take the responsibility with his team. Okay, we did it wrong, and we are responsible to fix it together. And what he earned in return from them was, first thing, of course, trust, but also loyalty, and also accountability. Because if you don't have a blaming culture, blaming is the opposite of responsibility, right? You don't want to take responsibility, so you blame somebody else. But when there is responsibility taken from the leader from the mistakes that happened, even if it was not directly done by him, then that's the first form of responsibility, and he's a role model, so he reflects back on the team.
And that's precisely what Dr. Deming meant with, if a fault is made by the system, then it's me, the manager, who is responsible. Yeah. That's basically what he does.
Yeah, indeed. And because such behaviors, what he did, that shows unity and care for the people. And that it is not about you as a leader or him as a leader proving himself through taking credit when things go well, or blaming others when things go unwell. It's about the team.
It's always about the team. That's what Bill Bellows also means with a we organization. We are a team, and we work on something. And every organization is basically a team. So what I kind of dislike about our job as organization professionals is that we use these management terminology like an organization or an hierarchy or an organogram or processes. It makes it kind of technical, and we lose the sense of being a team and working together as human beings, as individuals, as professionals, working on a certain challenge that we have together. So by using a lot of terminology, we kind of remove the sense of together from the organization.
Yeah, I agree, Jeroen.
So to go back to your earlier background that you presented, so a nice exercise is, I did it myself, by the way, is if you are a leader, try to count during the day all the positive comments you give to anybody in your team and all the critical or negative comments you give to someone. So I'm not talking about whether it's right or wrong. I'm not talking about it's a fault or not a fault, not that debate. But in your team happens a lot. And are you able as a leader to give more positive comments than negative comments? Now, I know from fact, in my own experience, having an MBTI thinking profile, by nature, I'm more focused on what's wrong, so we need to improve that. So not to be negative, not at all, but just want to make it better. So I'm not blaming anyone, but I see the faults faster, and then we mentioned it, and I want to move on. So we're not talking about blaming. But you overlook then the positive things like, all right, we did this well. Well, nice exercise for leaders. Count your remarks and see where you end up.
Yeah, that's a very interesting exercise, Jeroen. I wonder what our audience will find out.
Then they have to do the exercise themselves.
Well, let's hope they do so. So to give our audience a quick wrap-up on everything we said, show sincere appreciation through praising actions or traits displayed in a specific situation by your team members. Try to focus more on the things that you can appreciate instead of the things that you can criticize. They say what you focus on more, you get more of.
Yep.
Humble yourself and know that you also make mistakes as a leader. And the last thing would be share the responsibility with your team for the good things you achieve and the mistakes they make as well.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. Thank you, Salwa, for this wonderful introduction into communication and sharing and having appreciation for each other. Hope you enjoyed it, and see you in the next episode with leadership with Salwa and myself.
Thank you, Jeroen, and thank you, everybody. See you next episode.